Good morning, good evening, and good night. Of course, it depends in where in the world you are. I'm Diego Gomez, and today, guys, we're going to be talking about some pretty big news that happened over the weekend around the world. And today, we're going to be talking about specifically a very important meeting that occurred in the United Kingdom during this weekend. Guys, as you can see in the thumbnail of the video, today we're going to be talking about the G7 summit. Specifically, what is the G7, what they talk about during this summit, specifically about vaccines, about COVID-19 origins in China, and also about what is the relation between China and the G7 members, specifically with the United States. But first, before talking about all of this, I want to explain to you very fast what is exactly the G7. The G7 is a group of countries whose political, economic, and military influence is considered very relevant around the world. Also, this is represented by the seven main advanced economic powers worldwide, and it is made up of Germany, Canada, the United States, France, Italy, Japan, and also the United Kingdom. In addition, also the European Union has a political representation during this summit. So during this weekend, they had this summit, and the G7 announced this last Sunday, yesterday, January 13, that they announced an agreement to donate more than 1 billion doses of the COVID-19 vaccine to developing countries around the world. Also, very important thing, they also demand a transparent investigation led by the World Health Organization in China to try to find out what is the origin of the COVID-19. This was announced in the final statement of the summit about talking about the COVID-19 doses that are going to be donated to developed countries around the world. This was announced at the closing meeting, the closing press conference during this Sunday by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He said during this statement that they are going to be donating these vaccines either directly or through funding from the international program of COVAX. COVAX, if we remember correctly, is supported by Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, and one of the main founders of the Vaccine Alliance is Mr. Bill Gates. So this is what is announced. This is what it was announced during this Sunday by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And also here for you, I have the specific words and the live words by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. So let's take a look at this very important announcement of 1 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines donated to developed countries around the world.
A week ago, I asked my fellow leaders to help in preparing and providing the doses we need to vaccinate the whole world by the end of 2022. I'm very pleased to announce that this weekend, leaders have pledged over 1 billion doses, either directly or through funding to COVAX. That includes 100 million from the UK to the world's poorest countries, which is another big step towards vaccinating the world.
This was the announced during this Sunday in the G7 summit, in where the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced that 1 billion doses are going to be donated around the world for developing countries. And he also mentioned that this is a very big step to the vaccination around the world. Also, the leaders of the G7 indicated that this commitment of direct donation reaches around 870 million doses, half of which should be allocated by the end of this year. And also during this speech, Boris Johnson said that around 100 million doses will come out of the UK. So this is one of the topics that were talked about in the G7 summit, and also one of the most important topics during this summit is the relation with China, specifically what happened with China and the United States. They talk about, and also the G7 agreed to oppose China's anti-competitive practices that undermine the functioning of the world economy. Also, during this final communique, they also refer to human rights violation in the Beijing and also in Peking, and they also demand to ensure a high level of autonomy in addition to an investigation of the origins of the pandemic of coronavirus. Also, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, was present during this summit, and he declared that he thinks that they are in a contest with China and also in a contest with autocrats governments around the world. Also, I have for you the specific declarations, the answers by the President of the United States, Joe Biden, during this summit that was held this last Sunday in the UK. So let's take a look at what Joe Biden said about the relation between China and the United States.
The only way we're going to meet the global threats is by working together and with our partners and our allies. And I conveyed to each of my G7 counterparts that the United States is going to do our part. America is back at the table. America is back at the table. I think we're in a contest, not with China per se, but a contest with autocratic governments around the world, as whether or not democracies can compete with them in the rapidly changing 21st century. And I think how we act and whether we pull together as democracies is going to determine whether our grandkids look back 15 years from now and say, did they step up? Are democracies as relevant and as powerful as they have been? And I walked away from the meeting with all of my colleagues believing that they are convinced that that is correct now too. I shouldn't say now, not just because of me, but they believe that to be the case. I propose that we have a democratic alternative to the Belt and Road Initiative, to Build Back Better. And they've agreed to that, and that's underway as the details of that. We agreed that we put together a committee to do that.
These were some of the declarations by the President of the United States, Joe Biden, during the G7 summit that was held during the last weekend. And also these declarations were in last Sunday during also the visit of the President Joe Biden in the UK. So very important, during this video, we can also take a look at what Joe Biden said about the rise of China and also the worries of the United States. As Joe President says, China is the main strategic competitor and has also talked about the economic abuses and also human rights violation that have been in China during the last months, as many people said, also like Joe Biden said during this speech. Very important, they will promote also the values of the United States, and they are going to do this to try to enforce and fight against the human rights violation that have been happened during the last months in China. Talking about this country, also China, during this Monday, early this morning, they reject the final declaration of the G7 summit in which members asked to Beijing to respect human rights, specifically in the northwest province of Xinjiang, and also they want to guarantee a high level of control of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Asian giant has also responded to the spokesman for his embassy in London, and they said that they always believe that countries, large or small, strong or weak, poor or rich, they are all equal around the world. Affairs should be dealt with through consultations by all the countries. This was said by the spokesman, and he also said that they resolutely oppose mentions of China that distort the facts and expose the sinister intentions of a few countries like the United States. They conclude during this early morning. So this is what is happening in the world, talking about China, United States, and also the G7. And so in the comments, you can tell me, as always, what do you think about the situation of the G7, the COVID-19 donations? What do you think about these billion doses that are going to be donated by the end of this year? And also, I invite you to chat and tell me, what do you think about the relation between Joe Biden and China? What is this going to end at the end of this year? And as always, also, I invite you to follow me in my social media that is down here below: Facebook Diego Gomez TV, Twitter and Instagram at Diego Reportero, and also subscribe right here and hit on the notification bell in my YouTube channel, Diego Gomez TV. Guys, this was all for today, and I see you and wait you in my next streaming.